Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I know this might seem like an odd film for me to pick to watch, especially during this month, but I was thinking about like what movies to watch and review next, and I realized I'm not sure if I've seen this particular movie before. I mean, maybe I've seen scenes. Maybe I saw a tiny bit as a kid. But it's one of those movies that I was always aware of and my friends would always reference. So I decided, let me watch it now and see if I remember it. And you know what? I don't remember this movie. I don't think I have watched this. So I'm going to say this is my first time watching Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I think I got all of that correct. Who is this? That's Black Panther? He's wearing a panther thing. Holy shit. This is a 1996 film that was surprisingly directed by Paris Barkley. I don't know who that is, but I thought this was directed by Keenen Ivory Wayans, and I only to find out that no, Keenen Ivory Wayans produced this movie. And that actually answers a few things that I had, or a couple of things about this movie that I otherwise was confused about. But once I saw that Keenen Ivory did not direct this, a lot of things made sense. A lot of things, I'm like, oh, that's why this movie is the way that it is. It's co-written and starring Shawn Wayans and Marlon Wayans. And look, I'm going to say right off the bat, this is a parody movie. This is not a film that is to be taken serious. This is not like a real hood movie or a movie that's actually trying to have a message. No, it's making fun of especially certain hood movies that happened around this time in the 80s and 90s. So I will say that this film made me laugh a lot. It did. It made me laugh more often than not. So it's not like I can sit here and pretend like it wasn't funny, or it's not like I can sit here and pretend like I'm above the humor that's in this movie, because a lot of it did, in fact, make me laugh. But I had some issues with the film. I had some issues with the type of humor that is in this movie. First, let's talk about the fact that Keenen Ivory Wayans did not direct this movie. The reason why that stands out for me is because I feel like the Wayans brothers, Shawn and Marlon, I feel like their best work comes from when Keenen Ivory Wayans directs them. When he's more in charge of sort of overseeing their jokes, almost like fact-checking or just proofreading everything that they have written down. I think he reins in especially Marlon, because Marlon might be the worst part of this movie. Marlon is so cheesy and goofy. Again, I know it's a comedy. I know it's a parody. I get that. And I get that the acting doesn't have to be immaculate. But it's just every scene that Marlon is in, he just looks like this. That's all he does. He tries to be funny. I think he's trying too hard to be funny every time he's on screen. And I'm not going to say he never made me laugh. There was about 3 scenes where I laughed with Marlon being there. So I guess it's because of him, or I guess it's something he did. It's the one scene where he asked that girl at the party for her number, but he put the gun to her head, which I know it's fucked up, but it just caught me off guard. It completely surprised me. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go get her number. And then he basically threatened her to get the number. There was another scene where he's trying to hook up with this other girl, an actress that I've seen in so many things. That's another thing that I liked, watching an old 90s black movie of a bunch of actors that I remember seeing in so many things when I was growing up. But he's trying to hook up with her. He's feeding her alcohol, and she's like, no, I shouldn't be drinking this because this is going to make me crazy. This is going to do something to me that you don't want to see. And Marlon's like, oh no, I want to see it. Let's keep going. And so as they keep going, this girl literally turns into a demon. Her face becomes possessed. She looks crazy as fuck. And Marlon screaming and show of fear, him trying to crawl away and her dragging him back, that actually made me laugh. Normally, when Marlon screams and carries on, I just kind of, like my ears start to bleed. But that worked. And it was mostly Sean, though. I appreciated having Sean as more of the main character, because Sean is a lot more subtle. Sean is a lot more reserved. He has his moments when he has to be over the top. He has his moments when he's more reactionary to crazy things around him. And so that's why I think Sean is just funnier. But overall, a lot of this humor works for me because there is a certain level of satire that I think they're trying to comment on when it comes to Black Hood films, like serious Black Hood movies. Some of them do seem a little self-righteous, or some of them do seem a little preachy, or seems like they try to tell the world how every black neighborhood or black story goes. And sure, that's case by case. That's not the facts for everybody. And so I liked like the beginning of this movie where it had the quotes, and yes, it was being goofy, it was being silly, but it felt like they were trying to commentate on some of those black movies. Even having Keenan Ivory Wayans come in every so often to point out when they're delivering a message, because that's how it feels sometimes when you're watching a movie like that. Not every joke hit, not every silly moment worked. There were a couple moments where maybe it was forced, or maybe you could argue that there were too many drug jokes or sex jokes or jokes about, guns and, like stuff that, like, I get you might be commenting on other films' use of that, but it did at points feel repetitive, or feel like they're just hitting the same sort of jokes, especially with the old grandmother. Like, it was funny at first, but then they just kept kind of hitting those same beats. The movies that they were parodying, I had to look this up just to make sure, because a couple of them I cut off right off the bat, like Boys in the Hood. Obviously, there's a few scenes that are like directly ripped from that movie. Also, Juice, Menace to Society, but South Central, I'm not aware of that movie. I might have heard of it, but I've never seen it, so maybe I should at some point one day check that out. Some of the other cast, a lot of people are in this film that I recognize, but Vivica A. Fox, Omar Epps, Faison Love, and Bernie Mac, who was a pleasant surprise to see. I always love to see Bernie Mac. So overall, look, is this a movie that I think is for everybody? Goddamn no. No. This is for a specific audience. This is for mostly black people who have grown up on hood films, like I have, who have watched a lot of this stuff that they're referencing and parodying. I don't think you can show just anybody this film, and I definitely think today, if you try to show somebody this movie, it could go wrong. They could get offended. It could get canceled. Today, it's like you gotta walk that line. There is a certain type of humor that still works for me and still makes me laugh. I was laughing pretty hard throughout this movie, I'm not gonna lie. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood? Goddamn. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!